My wife's major project had been stalled for 3 years and was about to default. She promised to make me vice if I got it done by the year end. I worked myself to exhaustion and finally pulled it off, but then she promoted her male assistant, Julian, who'd only been with the company for 3 months. Claiming he was crucial in navigating the situation, everyone waited to see me lose my temper, but I just smiled, gave him a stock transfer agreement, and said it was a double blessing. No one knew the client holding up the project was my own father. When I threw the stock transfer agreement to my wife's male assistant, Julian, everyone at the company gasped. For 3 whole years, so many people worked themselves to exhaustion, burning out for this project. Even though my shares weren't extensive, if the project went live and helped the company go public, their value could easily skyrocket 10-fold, or even 100-fold, and I just gave them up so casually. Keep in mind, that kind of real money was worth far more than a vice position. Instantly, everyone's eyes were fixed on the stock transfer agreement, except for Sapphire, whose face was ashen, the rage in her eyes barely concealed by her perfectly applied makeup. Ethan, if you're unhappy with my decision, you can just say so. There's no need to be passive-aggressive and sarcastic, ruining the company atmosphere. Hearing that, I instantly rolled my eyes. Ruining the company atmosphere. That's quite the accusation she's throwing at me. But then again, ever since she hired Julian at the company, I'd become a heinous criminal in Sapphira's eyes. No matter what I said or did, it was always wrong. Now I just let Julian easily gain a huge advantage. Wasn't this exactly what she wanted? Shouldn't she be happy? What was this woman even thinking? I was truly baffled. Beside us, Julian tightly clutched the stock transfer agreement, a fleeting glimpse of greed in his eyes quickly masked. Then he looked up, feigning a look of deep regret. Ethan, are you upset because you weren't chosen for vice? And you think Ms. Sapphire is playing favorites? Please don't misunderstand. Ms. Sapphire doesn't think you are incapable. It's just that she heard you are allergic to alcohol, and a vice position requires a lot of drinking at business dinners. She was afraid it would harm your health. Everyone knows how hard you worked on this project. As a newcomer, I simply cannot accept these shares. You should take them back. But while Julian's words sounded good, his hand remained still, clearly reluctant to let go of the lucrative opportunity now within his grasp. As for his excuse, it was laughable. Only and I knew about my alcohol allergy. No third person was aware. This was clearly a fabricated excuse they had conspired together. Furthermore, just because I couldn't drink, they would let a newcomer who'd been with the company for less than 3 months become vice. Even an idiot could tell something was off, but I was too lazy to argue anymore. Instead, I raised my hand and patted Julian's shoulder, saying earnestly, Julian, no, Vice Julian, I'm truly touched that you'd consider my well-being. I'm relieved to leave the company in your hands. Knowing it has someone as meticulous as you, I even squeezed his shoulder firmly, to show my approval and appreciation. Seeing this, Sapphire finally revealed a satisfied smile. That's better, of course. The company won't treat loyal employees like you unfairly. Julian's celebration dinner is coming up. Originally, I wasn't going to invite you since you don't drink, and I didn't want to spoil the fun, but seeing how understanding you are today, you can come along too. I looked at her, acting as if she was bestowing a monumental favor upon me, and almost laughed in anger. The president position, $1 million annual salary, snatched away without a word, and now she's pretending to be nice, trying to appease me with a single dinner. I refused with a strained smile. No thanks. I don't dine with dogs. It makes me sick. Sapphira's smile instantly froze. She slammed her hand on the table and roared, Ethan, do you really think you are so great? If hadn't mediated this time, the project would have defaulted and we'd be held accountable, and you'd be out of a job. Believe me, I can fire you. I looked at her fuming, agitated expression, feeling no ripples in my heart, and even a slight urge to laugh. If she hadn't insisted on heavily relying on Julian, leading to data errors and constant reworks, the project wouldn't have dragged on this long. It was Julian's fault to begin with, and I cleaned up his mess, yet it became his credit. Her ability to twist facts like that was truly wasted if she wasn't writing novels. Thinking this, I pulled out the resignation letter I had already prepared from my pocket, and slapped it on the table. All right, just sign it. With that, I turned and left. As I reached the ground floor of the company building, and was about to hail a taxi, a red sports car screeched to a halt in front of me. The window slowly lowered, revealing Julian's smug face. Before I could react, he deliberately splashed half an iced milk tea from his hand onto me. The winter wind was biting, and the iced milk tea, mixed with ice cubes, instantly soaked my clothes, chilling me to the bone. Julian looked at my disheveled state, his previous humble demeanor gone, replaced by a mocking sneer. "TSK, TSK, TSK, waiting for the bus in this freezing weather. Ethan, look how stiff and pathetic you are. How embarrassing would it be if you became vice?" But then again, not everyone has my alcohol tolerance to make the client drag their feet again and again. "Alright, gotta go to the celebration dinner. It's year end. So take your time finding a new job," he finished, floored the gas pedal, and sped away. But even after Julian was long gone, a cold sneer curved my lips. No one knew that the project's delay until now had nothing to do with Julian's supposed exceptional business negotiation skills. No matter how good a drinker he was, the giants wouldn't be foolish enough to ignore hundreds of millions in potential losses. There was only one reason: it had been delayed this long. Thinking this, I called the client for the project directly. "Dad, I've resigned. You can cancel the project with Sophia's company." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Then, my father's excited voice almost shattered my eardrums. "My boy, you finally came to your senses. I, your father, already paved the way for you, but you ignored a top 500 global multinational corporation and insisted on starting a business with Sophia's unreliable little company." Listening to my father's roar, I awkwardly touched my nose. Yes, the reason Sophia's project kept getting delayed was because the client, her daddy, was actually my own father. My father was the Asia Pacific regional head for the Apex. Initially, because Sophia's company lacked technological and financial advantages, it was on the verge of being eliminated from the market and going bankrupt. I saw Sophia looking distressed and anxious every day, too worried to eat or sleep, and my heart ached for her. I couldn't bear to see her hard work go to waste, so I actively sought my father's help. That's how Sophia secured the major project that saved her entire company. It was also because of the Apex investment that clients in the market started noticing Sophia's little-known company. Watching's company grow stronger, seeing the smile return to her face, I was happy and worked relentlessly. I thought we were pursuing our dreams together, walking toward success hand in hand. I never imagined that in the end, because of a male assistant who'd been there for less than 3 months, I would be discarded after being used to keep that project alive. My year-end bonus was almost completely docked. To help you stall this project, I had to negotiate with headquarters every day, coming up with all sorts of excuses. My father continued to grumble endlessly on the phone. I couldn't help but smile wryly. My father had gone to great lengths to help me. He complained about Sophia's company being unreliable, but in reality, he was secretly helping me all along. He even sacrificed his own year-end bonus to help me keep this project, and me. I was played like a fool by Sophia and Julian. All right, I get it. Dad, thank you for your hard work. Please cancel the project immediately. I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore." My father readily agreed. "When you come back home, I'll introduce you to some old friends, all industry elites. In the future." My father began to ramble, planning my future. As I listened, my heart gradually calmed. Sophia's small company didn't have enough capital to revitalize the project. She had borrowed a significant amount in loans. Without my connections from now on, the so-called major project was just a castle in the air. She would also be unable to repay her loans when the project was cancelled, never to recover. But now, I didn't need to explain anything to them. When disaster strikes, they would naturally realize who the real deal was. Thinking this, I hung up the phone and prepared to go home to pack my suitcase and completely part ways with Sophia. I returned home, opened the bedroom closet, and while rummaging through a drawer, a photo album hidden in a corner fell out. In the photos, Sophia was young and innocent, wearing a high school uniform, her ponytail swinging, a bright smile on her face. Standing next to her was a tall, thin boy, who bore a striking resemblance to Julian. My heart jolted, and I continued to flip through. Tucked in the back of the album were a stack of yellowing love letters, elegantly handwritten, with Julian clearly written in the recipient section. Only then did I understand why, that one time, when I simply opened the drawer to find socks, Sophia threw a massive tantrum, pushed me out, and didn't let me into the apartment all day. She was afraid I'd discover her secret. No wonder, with Sophia's awful temper, every previous assistant, no matter how highly educated or capable, was screamed at and fired within a few weeks. Yet, that rookie was promoted and given raises at rocket speed. Turns out, he was the one that got away, the one she loved in school. Ha! No wonder, I sneered, closed the photo album, and left this cold home with my partially packed suitcase. As soon as I got downstairs, I shipped my luggage home by courier and called my dad to pick me up. While waiting for the car, I saw a roasted sweet potato vendor by the roadside, and figured I hadn't eaten all noon, and should grab something to fill my stomach. The next second, I ran into Sophia and Julian. At that moment, Sophia, slightly tipsy, looked at me triumphantly. Oh, weren't you so cocky at the company earlier? Now you are waiting here, begging for my forgiveness. Hearing that, I was speechless. This woman could really overthink. What rotten luck. I should have just hailed a cab and left, instead of being tempted by food. Julian looked at the roasted sweet potato in my hand with a hint of disdain, then said, passive-aggressive and sarcastic, "Oh, Sophia, look. Ethan is standing out here in 20 below zero weather at the apartment complex entrance, waiting for you, and he even bought you your favorite roasted sweet potato. How about you let him come back to the company? Ethan has more experience. I can just assist Ethan. It's hard to find a job at year end, and if Ethan loses his job at his age, how will he explain it to his family over the holidays?" Sophia looked smug. All right, fine. But how could a genius like Julian assist you? From now on, Ethan, you'll be Julian's errand boy. Saying that, Sophia snatched the roasted sweet potato from my hand and took a bite. I was instantly infuriated, snatched the roasted sweet potato back, and threw it directly into the trash can. Self-important. Such a good roasted sweet potato, wasted on a dog. Sophia instantly flew into a rage, pointing at my nose and yelling, "You! Who are you calling a dog? Ethan, I'm divorcing you." It was that trick again. In the past, no matter what our arguments were about, if she was in the wrong, she would throw out the divorce ultimatum to force me to surrender. But now, I instantly burst out laughing, pulling out the divorce papers I had already prepared from my pocket, and waving them in front of her. Perfect, I was just waiting for your signature. Divorce papers, you actually had them prepared already. Sophia's eyes widened like she'd seen a ghost. Seeing this, Julian almost couldn't hold back his laughter. After all, he was eager to climb the ladder, and my decisive divorce meant one less competitor, so he was naturally thrilled. But to make a good impression on Sophia, Julian still feigned concern. "Oh, Ethan, I know it's normal to feel embarrassed and resentful after being confronted in front of so many people at the company, but you and Sophia just got married recently. How can you throw a tantrum about divorce?" Hearing that, I felt a wave of nausea at his hypocritical act. This guy was really putting on a show at the company, H7, and now he was playing the role of a neutral mediator. I simply pointed to the courier station by the road. "All right, my luggage is already packed, just sign it, don't waste each other's time." Only then did Sophia realize I was serious, but the next moment, she suddenly seemed to think of something and sneered, "Ethan, don't think I don't know what you are planning. You just saw the company getting bigger and wanted to take my money, didn't you?" Sophia looked triumphant, as if she had seen through all my schemes. "I'm telling you, both the house and the company, I had them all under a prenuptial agreement before we even got our marriage certificate. You won't take a single cent. Go ahead and divorce me." I looked at her arrogant expression and suddenly understood. No wonder when we were getting our marriage certificate, I wanted to post about it on social media for our anniversary, but Sophia kept making excuses and putting it off. Turns out she had secretly gotten a prenuptial agreement behind my back. What a clever trick. Knowing that I wouldn't take a single cent, Julian at the side could barely suppress his laughter, but still tried to put on an "I am doing this for your own good" expression. Yes, Ethan, even if you are considering your feelings, you should at least think about your future. If you divorce Sophia now, you'll have nothing, and is now a rising star in the industry, highly favored by the industry leader. The project is about to launch. With those connections, Sophia could blacklist you with just one word. I looked at Julian's hypocritical face, my stomach churning. He talked for a long time, but all he really wanted was for me to stay and continue to exploit me. After all, he was a fraud. Without me handling the work, he, as vice, would be exposed in a few days. Then the company's performance would decline, and Sapphire wouldn't be able to protect him either. Hearing this, Sapphire crossed her arms, lifted her chin, and looked utterly arrogant. Exactly. I think some people have been at the company too long, and think too highly of themselves. The project you couldn't handle, Julian finished by simply having a meal and a drink. When the client approves it, not only will we receive 200 million in one go, the company might even go public. Now, do you still think the company can't function without you? She gave a contemptuous laugh, as if I were a dispensable clown. I looked at her triumphant villain's expression, a cold sneer forming in my heart. This woman was truly fooled by Julian's sweet talk, still waiting for a huge payment and to go public. Just wait to be ruined. Thinking this, I spoke in a cold, deliberate tone, without my connections as collateral. The 6-month delay and potential default due to your reliance on Julian, causing constant reworks, are enough for the apex to legally and justifiably cancel the partnership, and even demand compensation for breach of contract. Furthermore, the apex is the industry leader. If their investment reputation is damaged, forget about going public. It's questionable whether you'll ever get another order in this industry again. But scoffed dismissively at my warning. Your connections. You are really flattering yourself. She pointed at me, her voice sharp and sarcastic. You are just an unemployed person. You probably can't even get past the front gate of their group. Why would such a large, publicly traded group listen to you? Before could finish, a black Maybach slowly pulled up to the apartment complex entrance. The license plate was 88,888. Julian recognized it at a glance and gasped, "Whoa. 88,888. That's the Apex Asia Pacific head's private car." Sapphire heard Julian's words, instantly straightened her back, and looked at me triumphantly. See that? For this project, even the Asia Pacific head of the industry leader personally came to my home. She lifted her chin, her tone arrogant, as if she could already see her bright future. But she didn't know that the person in the car was none other than my own father. Oh, once the company goes public, I'll be financially independent, then, and I will buy a huge villa, sports cars, and travel overseas to eat at every Michelin restaurant. As for you, Sapphire glanced at me, her voice full of disdain. Just wait to collect unemployment, and spend your life collecting welfare. With that, she tidied her hair, and respectfully extended her hand to greet the person, Mr. William, this collaboration. But the next moment, the person completely ignored Sapphire's outstretched hand, walked directly to me, and embraced me. My boy, you've gotten so thin after a year. When your mother sees you, she'll accuse me, your father, of being irresponsible again. Hearing this, Sapphire and Julian both froze. Their expressions a colorful display, especially, who looked like a chicken with its neck wrung, her eyes wide, her mouth agape enough to fit an egg, his father. After a long pause, she finally stammered, her voice trembling violently, Mr. William, have you mistaken me for someone else? As far as I know, Ethan's father passed away. She pointed at me, her eyes filled with disbelief. She ultimately didn't dare to utter the word died. Hearing this, my father instantly realized something, and spun around to glare at me. I smiled awkwardly, touching my nose. Actually, the reason I initially lied to Sapphire that my father had died was solely to support her startup. At the time, I had a huge fight with my family over funding her venture, and our relationship was strained. I was angry then and also feared Sapphire might overthink, so I simply concocted a lie, saying my father had died and the money was compensation I received after his death. Thinking back now, I was truly foolish. For this woman, I even cursed my own father to death. But now, I didn't need to explain anything to her, let her think what she wanted. Soon, my father understood the whole situation. He then turned his gaze back to Sapphire, scrutinizing her, his brow deeply furrowed. Mistaken? Are you suggesting that my eyes are failing me, and I can't even recognize my own son? His tone was cold, tinged with sarcasm. Sapphire finally confirmed that my father and I were indeed father and son. In an instant, her face turned ashen, and her eyes changed like a kaleidoscope. Then, her attitude towards me immediately did a complete 180. She forced a stiff smile, walked to my side, and linked her arm through mine, pretending to be utterly devoted to me. Uncle, I was just making a joke to lighten the mood. Just yesterday I was asking Ethan about you. I planned to visit you at the year-end. She spoke in a sugary sweet voice, sickeningly sweet. Watching her act so fakely, I was instantly speechless. This woman was really putting on a show. When had she ever cared about my family's situation? Ever since we'd been together. To avoid her overthinking, I always used the excuse that my family's situation wasn't good, and that we were from a rural area. Every time, she would look disgusted and wouldn't let me go home for the holidays. When I lied to her about my father dying, she even grinned from ear to ear, as if she'd won the lottery. My father snorted, not falling for her act at all. Cut the act. His tone was firm and uncompromising. From the very beginning, I never acknowledged you as a daughter-in-law of our Song family. Sophia's face immediately became incredibly awkward. Julian was about to say something on Sophia's behalf, but was given a fierce glare by Sophia. Sophia abandoned Julian and ran back to my side, linking her arm through mine again, saying with a forced smile, "Honey, does our dad have some kind of misunderstanding about me?" Before she could finish, I almost gagged. I violently shook off her hand, pulled out the divorce papers Sophia had signed from my pocket, and waved them in front of her. "Sophia, did you forget? We are already divorced." My voice was cold, each word deliberate. Sophia froze. The expression on her face was like someone had thrown a bucket of cold water on her. It instantly solidified. After a long while, she finally found her voice, cautious and barely audible, like a whisper, as she tried to explain to me, "Ethan, now is a critical time for the project handover." She furtively glanced at me, seeing no reaction from me. She continued, "We've been together for so many years. After all, there's no need to ruin everything, leaving us both ruined, right?" I rolled my eyes, a cold sneer in my heart. She remembered we'd been together for so many years. Where was she then? When she climbed into Julian's bed, why didn't she think about our years together? When I was humiliated by Julian splashing iced milk tea on me, why didn't she think about our years together? When I was deceived by both of you and left with nothing, why didn't she think about our years together? Now that the project is about to fall apart, she's scared. Too late. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Sophia started playing the emotional card. Her eyes reddened, and tears came instantly. "Ethan, I'm pregnant." She choked, as if she had suffered a great injustice. Even if you are angry with me, and won't consider me, you should at least consider your child in my belly." Hearing say she was pregnant, my father froze. The expression on his face went from anger to surprise, then to confusion, and finally a hint of joy. After all, my father's greatest wish was to see me hold my grandchild soon. Seeing the situation shift, Julian and Sophia exchanged a look. Julian immediately reacted, playing the good guy. "Yes, Ethan, no matter what, Sophia is carrying your child." He looked deeply regretful, as if I was some heinous criminal. "If you just abandon Sophia like this, what will happen to her, a weak woman, and the child?" With that, Julian took a pregnancy test results from his bag. My father took the report and examined it carefully. His expression immediately turned grim, because it clearly stated that Sophia was already 2 months pregnant. Seeing this, a hint of triumph flashed in Sophia's eyes. My father hesitated, about to speak, but I suddenly interrupted him, snatched the report from his hand, and looked at Sophia, scoffing. "Sophia, do you remember the last time you spent the night home?" Sophia paused, then unconsciously spoke. "Of course. It was 2 months ago. The company has been so busy with the project lately, how could I?" Before she could finish, Sophia's face turned pale. Clearly, she had realized something. I sneered, mercilessly exposing her lie. "Yes, the last time you were home was 2 months ago, and we haven't even shared a bed in a long time. Then whose child are you carrying? And why is the pregnancy test results in Julian's possession?" My gaze swept back and forth between Sophia and Julian, and I couldn't help but sneer. "I don't need to say anything else, do I?" "No, it's not. Ethan, listen to me." Sophia's voice became shrill, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She frantically waved her hands, her eyes darting around, afraid to look directly at me. "Julian, he's just my assistant. It's normal for him to hold on to the pregnancy test results." She tried to force a smile that was uglier than a cry, trying to make me believe her clumsy lie. "As for the child, this child..." She stammered, unable to form a complete sentence for a long time. My father scoffed, directly interrupting her performance. He snatched the pregnancy test results from my hand, and mercilessly tore it to shreds. The pieces floated down like snowflakes, landing on Sophia's pale face. "How dare you? You actually tried to fool me." My father's voice was deep and authoritative, like the calm before a storm. You are pregnant with someone else's child, and you want my son to take responsibility. He pointed at Sapphire, furious. Cancel the collaboration. Immediately, right now. Sapphire's face completely lost all color. Uncle, please listen to me. This is all a misunderstanding, she hastily explained, her voice trembling. If I lose this project, I'll go bankrupt. Please, give me another chance. Julian also quickly chimed in, looking deeply regretful. Yes, uncle, please, for the child's sake. He paused, his tone becoming heavier. If the project is cancelled, the entire company will be dissolved, and all the employees will be affected. I looked at them, a nauseating feeling rising in my stomach as they put on their act. Cut the act. Sapphire, don't you have any idea how you've been exploiting me all these years? I snorted, mercilessly exposing their facade. You are the one abusing power for personal gain. Just to buy Julian a car to show off, you diverted $500,000 from the project's funds, causing budget cuts in all departments and widespread resentment. Later, you even docked my entire year-end bonus, just to celebrate the holidays with Julian. My father's face grew darker and darker. He hadn't imagined Sapphire would be so outrageous. I'll go back and write a report, prohibiting everyone from cooperating with Sapphire's company. His tone was firm, leaving no room for negotiation. Sapphire completely panicked, trying to explain something more, but my father directly cut her off. My father, and I left without looking back, leaving Sapphire and Julian trembling in place. Returning to my long-lost home, a strange sense of relief washed over me. My father and I sat on the sofa, talking about the past years. I realized that my father had aged quite a bit since our falling out all those years ago. After my mother passed away, this home had become quite lonely. I decided to listen to my father, and start working at his group next week, to help him share the responsibility. A new life, it seemed, was right before me. I took a shower and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, however, I was woken by my father's phone call. Ethan, check your phone. My heart sank, and an ominous premonition washed over me. I opened my phone, and just by looking at the trending on social media news, I froze. Shock. Son of senior at major exposed for cheating on wife and abandoning. I opened the social media, X, trending topics, and the blazing red headlines pierced my eyes. My mind buzzed, a complete blank. Cheating on his wife, abandoning his family. Was that me? Clicking on the trending topic, an overwhelming tide of curses and accusations surged in, threatening to drown me. Scumbag. Jerk. Degenerate. Does being rich mean you can do whatever you want? People like him should be scorned by thousands and reviled by all. I mechanically scrolled down, the comment section filled with personal attacks, and some even dug up my home address and contact information. Only then did I realize I had been set up, completely and utterly set up by Sapphire and Julian. Yesterday, while Sapphire was pleading my father to show some mercy, she had secretly recorded everything. Then, after some malicious editing, she uploaded it online. The online version completely twisted the facts. In the recording, my father's and my voices were deliberately amplified, making our tone sound arrogant and overbearing. Sapphire's voice, however, was processed to sound pitiful and helpless to uninformed netizens. It appeared as if my father and I had conspired together, abused our power, used Sapphire, and then ruthlessly abandoned her. I trembled with anger. My chest felt like it was crushed by a boulder, making it hard to breathe. This woman was so utterly ruthless. I immediately called my lawyer, preparing to sue Sapphire for defamation, but the lawyer told me that gathering evidence and filing a lawsuit would take time, and by then it'll be too late for a judgment. I was anxious. The most important thing now was to control public opinion and salvage my reputation. I decided to do a live stream to explain the truth to netizens. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I opened the live stream app, set the title, and was about to start the live stream, but the moment I opened my home door, I froze. Sapphire and Julian were standing right outside my home. Sapphire had a triumphant smile on her face, her eyes filled with provocation. Julian looked gleefully schadenfreude, as if watching a good show. Seeing them, the anger in my heart could no longer be suppressed. It blazed fiercely. You have the nerve to come here. I gritted my teeth, wishing I could rush over and punch both of them. Sophia gave a contemptuous smile. What? Scared? Julian also said, passive-aggressive and sarcastic, Ethan, do you think you can still recover? Now the whole internet knows you're a scumbag. Hearing that, I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my flesh. I had never felt so powerless and angry. These two were even more disgusting than I had imagined. For their own selfish gain, they would even spread rumors, defame others, and incite public opinion, actions that were illegal. I looked coldly at Sophia and Julian at the doorway, a chill spreading in my heart. What do you two want? I suppressed my anger, asking each word deliberately. Sophia covered her mouth with a hand and raised an eyebrow, feigning surprise. Oh, Ethan, what are you saying? Of course, we are here to help you. PFFT. I looked at Sophia's hypocritical face, my stomach churning. Helping me, and yet you come to my home to flaunt your triumph. Julian stood beside her, arms crossed, looking disdainful. Ethan, what kind of attitude is that? We are in control now. He paused, his voice tinged with a hint of threat. You don't want to think about it, but if you keep this up, can your father's job still be saved? However, your father is a senior executive at a major corporation, so he must have saved a lot of money over the years, right? His greedy gaze swept over me, as if I were already a piece of meat waiting to be carved. How about this? Give us 10 million each. I'll delete the posts immediately, and then I'll take Sophia overseas. I promise we won't bother you, and your father's reunion. Sophia sweetly seconded. Yes, Ethan, this is a great opportunity. You really need to seize it. 10 million. Did they think I was an ATM machine? I scoffed internally. This kind of thing, once it happens, it will happen a second, a third, and countless more times. If I compromised even once, they would exploit me for the rest of my life. Absolutely not. I flatly refused. Sophia's face instantly darkened, all traces of gentleness vanishing, replaced by raw malevolence. Ethan, you're refusing the easy way out and inviting trouble. If I just play the victim online, those idiots on the internet will take my side, cyberbully you, and be done for. Watching's hysterical outburst, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Oh really? I am afraid you've outsmarted themselves. Public opinion can be a double-edged sword. The next moment, I slowly raised my phone. On the screen, it clearly showed an active livestream. Inside the livestream, a barrage of comments instantly exploded. I held up my phone, and on the screen, the number of viewers on the livestream continued to climb. Sophia and Julian's faces, illuminated by my phone screen, looked particularly contorted. They never in their wildest dreams imagined that I was live streaming the entire time. Sophia was the first to react, hastily forcing out a smile that looked worse than a grimace. Ethan, what are you doing? We were just, she tried to argue. But the livestream was already in an uproar. Holy cow. This woman is absolutely disgusting. How dare she try to extort him? I've never seen anything like it. Call the police. They must call the police. And this guy isn't any better. They are clearly partners in crime. What a perfect match. Those two scoundrels. Comments, like snowflakes, densely covered the entire screen. Sophia's face turned ashen, her lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. Just then, Julian suddenly dropped to his knees with a thud. He began to wail, snot and tears streaming down his face, facing my phone screen. Everyone online. I was wrong. This woman forced me into all of it. He pointed at Sophia, accusing her at the top of his lungs. It was her. She planned all of this. I was just a tool she used. He cried profusely, as if he had suffered the greatest injustice. I have evidence of her embezzling company funds. I can report her. I can redeem myself. Sophia was utterly stunned. Pointing at Julian, she asked with a trembling voice, Julian, how could you do this to me? I was so good to you. All those promises, do they mean nothing now? Her voice was filled with disbelief and despair. Julian, however, scoffed disdainfully. Promises? You, a washed-up old hag, think you worthy of talking about promises with me? His eyes were filled with disgust and contempt. If it weren't for the profit, I would have thrown up long ago. He spat viciously, then scrambled to his feet and ran. I am going to report you. I want a reduced sentence. As he ran, he did not forget to look back and threaten Sophia. Watching this scene, I felt not a ripple of emotion. Reap what you sow. I was about to turn off the live stream and leave this troublesome place, but suddenly grabbed my arm. Her eyes were filled with despair and pleading. I thought she was up to something again. The next moment, she dropped to her knees in front of me with a thud. Sophia was crying hysterically, her makeup smeared, looking like she was putting on a show. She clung desperately to my arm, her nails practically digging into my skin. Ethan, I was wrong. Please, I beg you, save me. She cried out, her voice hoarse and thick with snot. I really didn't mean to push you this far. It was all Julian. He taught me everything. She tried to push all the blame onto Julian. I watched her expressionlessly, feeling not a ripple of emotion. The more miserably she cried, the more sickened I felt. What a waste of acting talent. She should be an actress. It didn't matter whether Julian or Sophia was the mastermind. From the moment she betrayed me, it was clear we could never go back. The next moment, I forcefully shook off her hand, my eyes cold. Sophia, you don't realize you were wrong. You realize he finished. She froze, her crying abruptly stopping, her eyes filled with terror and despair. Watching her like this, I felt not a shred of pity. Reap what you sow. Just then, sirens approached from a distance. Several police officers rushed into the apartment and immediately took Sophia away. She didn't even have time to resist before the police escorted her out. Watching her being taken away, I let out a long breath. It was finally over. As for my relationship with Sophia, it had already shattered long before this. Julian's appearance merely accelerated the process. Even without Julian, there would have been a second, a third Julian. Ultimately, she and I were not meant to be. With that thought, I turned off the live stream and left the troublesome place. Later, the truth about my father and me was finally clarified. Many users spontaneously came to the live stream to apologize, even buying products from the Apex as a gesture. After all that, the company's stock price actually rebounded significantly. The group directly reinstated my father to his original position. They also gave me an opportunity to go to a branch office to expand the business and prove myself. As for Julian, he was naturally intercepted by angry users on his way. He was eventually taken away by the police, and, I heard, sentenced directly to 10 years. As for Sophia, because the project was scrapped, the company went bankrupt. They couldn't even pay the outstanding wages, and Sophia was killed by angry employees. Everything was over. It was karma served. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling office window in my new office, overlooking the city, and my new life was just beginning.